Hey, I'm making a video again and it hasn't even been a month, yay! So I'm trying to stay true to what I said in the last video and upload more random stuff, and I thought that this would be some good random stuff to start off with. This is a game I was working on for, I don't know, a while ago. I was gonna make a video about it sooner, but stuff gets in the way. It's also been pretty noisy around here. There's always been something going on, like weather or some fucking concert outside or whatever. But anyway, that's not important. What's important is what you see here, which is a game I made as a practice project to figure out how to do multiplayer games, because that's quite different from doing single player ones. Like, at least in Unity, this is like, you gotta keep all these extra things in mind. You can't just do things normally, because for instance, if I was to, I don't know, shoot a projectile, then if I do it normally, it will only appear for one player, whereas the other player won't actually see the projectile, so they won't actually get shot if it hits them and whatever. So yeah, it's just a lot of extra work, so I just did this, hoping to learn how to do all that extra work in case I want to do some actual serious online projects in the future. Now, this thing you see here is not actually multiplayer. I made a single player version of it for reasons I'll explain later, but first let's just look at what's already here. So, we got a little guy here. As per usual, I decided that I didn't just want a bunch of boring fucking basic shapes, like, well, there are basic shapes, but this guy's a bit more advanced than just a single capsule with no texture on it. So, yeah, I like to just give my games a very simple little art style kind of thing. At least if I don't actually tend to release them, and I'm just kind of doing them for fun. Because it's just more fun to look at, and it makes you feel like you're making more progress than you actually are. Which makes me feel less hopeless about it all. So yeah, he's got this very basic animation that I only gave him because I wanted to test if I could do animations online. That was pretty simple. It's built into the engine basically, you just put a different little thing on him. And then we of course have this little world I'm walking around in. So my favorite thing to do in games is AI, and just in general just algorithms that, like, I want my code to look like a thought process. I like doing that kind of stuff. So I just like doing stuff like this, like terrain generators. And this is actually the first one I did. I also did a dungeon generator, but that's not really the same thing. That's you know, based on rooms and corridors and shit, and this is based on ground. And I have tried to make one in the past that isn't this voxel-based kind of thing, but it's just a single plane that's like curved and whatever, like you would see in an actual world, but that shit's hard, man. It's so hard that the only person I can see who's actually managed to do it successfully is selling his method for a bunch of money, which I'm not willing to pay, partly because I'm cheap and also because I like to do things myself. I don't like stealing other people's works when I am doing games. But voxel bits was pretty easy, so I'll just quickly try to explain how I did that, but now it's been a while since I worked on this game, so I might not remember. But yeah, as you can see, it just started this top layer, then it gets more and more as it goes down, and you got all these annoying ass single blocks that don't get filled up, because the game doesn't account for that. But I'm actually going to see if I can... Yeah, I gotta to stop the game. So this time around I'm in the actual Unity program. Previously I would have Unity on a different computer and then just port the game over to this computer to show it off, but now I have Unity on this computer because my other computer isn't really working that well anymore. So I probably should have done this to begin with, but anyway, now I can actually show you all the stuff that goes on in the background and shit, which most of it isn't really important, but let's see here, terrain. That's not the terrain, this is the terrain, yeah. So there's one of these for each layer that you saw, so there's 4 layers of terrain, and there's probably I could probably do it so that it's just a single object and not 4 of them, and I can just assign how many layers there should be, but I didn't bother doing that, at least not this time. So you can see here that there are a few settings for how to make the world look, and there's a pre-warmer, and actually I'll go over that one first. So yeah, a layer count is like how many blocks are there in each one. And as you can see, this one has a bit more, so that's a bit more. And it also does not account for the blocks of the previous layer, because you see each layer below, which are linked together here, like linked spawner, they will automatically, before they start generating blocks on their own, they will just generate all the blocks that the previous one did, but on their level, so that you get this nice hill-like effect. and then they add their own blocks. And then there is the other thing I did, which is clustering. Now, what clustering means in this instance is that each block spawned will have to spawn next to another block, and this is the percentage chance of that happening. And if it's set to 1, that means 100%, so if I were to set it to 0.5, then there is a 50-50 chance that it will spawn next to another block, or that it will just spawn within range, and the range currently is 20 units. Let's just do that real quick. Let's just set clustering to 50-50 for each of them and see how that goes. Wait. Oh. Okay, yeah. There we go. And by the way, the pre-warmer, as I said, is it's kind of a counter to clustering because this is the first layer and it's the only one that has pre-warmer. And the reason for that is if it tries to spawn a block and it's supposed to be clustering and there are no blocks to spawn it next to, then it'll result in an error. The pre-warmer basically spawns in a number of blocks without accounting for clustering, so it just spawns in 8 at random and then just builds on those. And then I can decide how many I want of those. But anyway, let's see how this looks with less clustering. And plop. So yeah, as you can see, a lot more chaos going on here. It's a lot less organized and a lot less nice looking. But, you know, it's nice to have that level of control. I try to design my scripts so that I can, like, tweak them and customize them as I go on, just from the editor, rather than having to go back into the script and change things there. I like versatility in my scripts, which usually gives me extra work earlier on, but, you know, less work later on, so that's nice. Now let's instead just change the pre-warm count to see how that affects it. So yeah, they're all set back to normal, and so yeah, now it's just a single big sheet with a bunch of smaller ones, because I have set the bottom layer to have not full-on clustering, because I like these little I like having a bit of smaller islands around on the bottom layer. It gives it a nice little look, which also means that it generates a lot slower for some reason. The other layers just generate pretty much instantly, whereas that one takes a lot more time to do it for some reason. I guess it's just harder to spawn in non-clustered blocks. What do you mean argument out of range? Everything is fine, shut up. So I'm just gonna change it back now to that. And yeah, now I think we can move on to the next thing. I don't really think I have that much to say about the terrain generator anymore. Except for the fact that it changes color. That's probably something you've noticed by now. I haven't really been paying attention to it because I'm so used to it. But yeah, it also selects a color from a random color in a list and just assigns them to all the blocks. So you get a bit of nice variety on each one. So anyway, now we're gonna move on to the, I guess, main feature of this game, which is I can do this. Wait, this. So yeah, this was originally going to be a shooter game, because, you know, I was trying to make a very simple multiplayer game, and, you know, shooters, that is simple, right? But I also wanted it to be a bit more special, so I wanted to have these special powers that you could use, special, like, you know, basically spell-like abilities, and this was the first one I made. We can move the blocks around, and the purpose of this is, of course, to crush your opponent, so I'm just gonna do that to myself now. Why is it getting so laggy? What's happening? Well, I'm dead at least. Let's do it again. Maybe that's lag will happen. There we go. Yeah, not really sure what happened there. Might be the whole recording situation. So yeah, I can just kind of kill myself because I have no one else to play with. And the reason I don't have that, and the reason this is single player, as I said before, is because I could not for the life of me make this feature work in multiplayer. Like, when the blocks are moved, they don't quite move as much as they should. They should just move, you know, the distance of one of these blocks so they can be at the place another one should be. But that did not work properly. It would move a little too little or a little too much. And obviously that doesn't really work with this kind of terrain where everything is supposed to be nice and evenly spaced. So I even put in a thing that forces it to snap to a certain also to round off the positions so that even if it isn't quite where it should be, it will just kind of teleport over there when it's done being moved. But even that wouldn't work, because what would happen then is that the blocks would get stuck halfway through instead of somewhere in between where it should be and halfway or whatever. So it reduced the problem, but it still made it there. It didn't actually solve it. Or it would just snap to one of the block positions, but not the one it should be, so it would just be inside another block. So I tried to figure out what was happening there, because it was only happening to players who were joining a game. The actual host did not see that problem. And first of all, it was like, oh, it must be something that I haven't fixed on their side, that works on the host side, because that's how it is a lot with multiplayer games like this. But that wasn't the case, actually. The case was the fact that the host lags less than the other players, and it was lag that was causing it because they were moving in a physics-based manner. So whenever Unity was skipping frames because of well, low frame rate, then it was making its physics less accurate. And you can't really have that in a game like this, and obviously that means that it also happens to the host as long as the host is lagging. So even turning the game into a single-player game did not actually solve the issue. So I did a few tricks and hoping it would work, but even then I wasn't really sure if it would happen more rarely, but still happen. What I eventually ended up doing is to not have it be physics-based at all, or even strictly position-based, like they're not even moving their position as they normally would. Instead what they're doing is that they're animating. I have assigned them 6 animations, 1 for each direction, and when I pull them they are just playing that animation over and over until they're where they should be. So right now I'm just pulling it towards me. That's 1 animation, and that's 2 animations. And of course it still does the thing where at the end of the animation it just teleports over to where it should be. So now it seems to work the way it's supposed to. And I guess I could technically make this a multiplayer game again, and I probably will. But honestly, at this point I'm just kind of tired of doing this game, so I'll probably just take a break from it for quite a while. And maybe never return to it, you never know. But yeah, I actually removed the shooting altogether, so I cannot show that to you, because when I was showing this game off to a oh, that's not supposed to happen. Yeah, I still have some issues that are kind of super annoying, where the player will, because when the players are getting crushed, it's because they are in touch with 2 blocks on the inside of them, like they are there's a collider inside of each block, that if the player touches 2 of them at once, they die. That's just how the means I have to ensure that they can detect when they're getting squashed. And yeah, that still doesn't work, because that is still physics-based. It kind of has to be physics-based because it's using colliders, and that's annoying that it doesn't really work still. Because obviously, if collision is getting less accurate, then it's going to like let the colliders intersect, and that's what they're not supposed to do. That's only what's supposed to happen if they get crushed like this. But yeah, anyway, that's not the reason I don't really want to work on this game anymore, because even though I try to fix all these things, it still isn't working. But as I was saying, when I was showing this game off to a friend of mine, well, 2 friends of mine, one of them being Luna, she really liked this feature. She did not like the actual shooter feature. She thought that was boring. But she was having way too much fun just, well, doing this, for instance. And she thought that was way more satisfying and way more fun to do than just shooting the other player, or even trying to crush them with the blocks. So she just, she asked me that I would keep working on that. And, you know, I'm not one to change my creative vision just because of what other people say, you know. But I kind of agreed, I kind of thought of that myself, that, yeah, you know, this is more fun, and I could probably make some kind of puzzle game out of this, or maybe have it be combat-based and puzzle-based, you know, kind of mix, just utilize this mechanic more than just for one thing. And just make the mechanic the centerpiece of the game, because, you know, it's a bit more original than just having things shoot things at each other. And actually, there's another little brief cosmetic feature I want to show off, where, like, you go to the player, and the player controller, there we go, power color, let's change that to something greenish. Ah, that's gross, blah. Yeah, that'll do. So yeah, cosmetic features are easy to add in games like this, but it's just fun to do. So I'll get a bit. And now, when I try to pull something, my beam is still blue. What? No. I changed the power color. My beam is supposed to have changed color. I changed to something more obvious. Let's just make it very red. Because the array is still very much... and the beam is still very much white, so it's kind of hard to see. No, it's blue. Why is something in the game working? Ah, I don't get it. I'm trying to finally show this off, and now... Okay, so apparently, yeah, it changes the color of your beam as well as the color of your respawn thing, like the beacon, and the beacon has changed, but not my beam. Okay, well, that's I'll just keep talking while trying to figure out what went wrong there. Oh, there it is. It's in cube control. Okay, so I changed the... Wait, I did? Yeah, this is why I should have made this video way earlier, because I have just forgotten pretty much all about this game at this point. Everything I was doing in it. But yeah, I couldn't get this video out sooner. And I'm already moving on to different projects, as I do, because I'm never in my lifetime going to finish anything. Anyway, let's try it now. Come on. No, no, what? That's not supposed to happen. Okay, good. I haven't changed the fall range, but yeah, I was just colliding with a blocking. But yeah, now my beam color has changed. That's better. See, apparently I have moved that one to a different script. I do not remember doing that at all, but I obviously did. So yeah, that is basically it. Like, I would like to make a full game of this at some point, maybe, if I could work all the stupid bugs out. And then it will probably be, you know, kind of puzzles like this kind of thing, and maybe arranging them correctly, but also some combat. I also added in a little bit of combat into this game before giving up on it. And the annoying thing, I usually don't play in full screen because I like to have access to my to the editor at all times, even while playing. But I'm trying to having it full screen so that you can see what's happening better, because I think that's more interesting to you guys. But anyway, I'm just going to take this boss right here that I made and enable him. And now we're going to fight this boss. Come on. There we go. And I'm already dead. Yeah, this... Ah! Stop! Cut me some slack, bitch! So yeah, what this... But... Oh wait, this is actually the wrong... I had a special map for this guy because he doesn't work very well in this kind of terrain. He works way better on this special boss terrain. Let's try again. There we go. So yeah, now we can also get a better look at what he's actually doing. So he's... what he's basically doing is that... Ooh, I forgot something. There's something I need to enable. Where is it? Where is it? Player tracker. Yeah, I'm gonna make that one visible. Because obviously when you're dealing with something that is, again, as evenly spaced as this, the player is not going to be a very good thing to be tracking the position of, because they're not ever going to be centered really. So I made this little thing you can see here, this tracker, to kind of move to the player's position but also round it off, just like the cubes are doing. And that way enemies can figure out what block I currently occupy, so to say. And then based on that, it does what it's doing right now and tries to crush me. So it basically has a series of code that is based on what is my tracker in position in relation to other blocks. So for instance, if there are 2 blocks below me, then it will move them up and together so that it can crush me, like it's been trying to do all this time. And if there is a block above me, it will try to move it down and crush me. Let's try to... Ah! It's hard to get it to do the things... Ow. Okay, now you're just being unfair, come on. I'm trying to show things off. It's okay to crush me when I'm testing, but just be cooperative this one time. Okay, so I'm just gonna try to move that one up and... come on, crush me the right way. Do it. He's not doing it. I want to show off the different... Okay, now that there's something happened that is not supposed to happen. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's exactly something I know is supposed to happen. Well, not supposed to, but I know what the problem is. And then this when we both try to move a block at once, the game just kind of overrides him doing it and just prioritizes me doing it, which is not a good... it's not a good. Because that will cause the block to be in a position it's not. But I'm gonna turn off the tracker. Also, there are supposed to be things I put out so you can actually fight the boss. Where did those go? Oh, there they are. So, where was I? Oh yeah, another thing that is not really correct with the boss right now, that I have not updated how he moves the block. So he still moves them in a physics-based way, so if my frames drop enough, you might see him not move a block correctly. Also, what is he doing? Oh, I disabled the tracker entirely. I did not disable the look of it. Sorry. I am... I did not prepare as much as I probably should have for this video, and I also, again, have not worked on this project for quite a while, longer than I was supposed to. Let's just look at this boss for a little bit. It's nice little tinties and other useless things I just added because I like cosmetics, even though they add literally nothing. But anyway, we have these blocks right here which can be used to damage him, so I'm going to finish off this video by trying to kill him. Except I can't, because I have changed the fucking... Oh man. I changed how you move the blocks and I didn't update these blocks so you can actually change it correctly. So now it's just talking about how I don't have an animator attached to them. Ah, I'm so bad at doing it. But yeah, these blocks are supposed to hurt you, but it's also supposed to hurt him. And if you move them all to him, he will eventually die. But that doesn't work either, so... You know what, let's just go back to the fucking ordinary terrain, but still keep the boss so that we have something fun to look at and whatever. So, well, I don't know. I was going to think of something to talk about while fighting this guy, but now I can't fight him. I can just avoid him. But, yeah, as I said, it's not a game I intend to work on much anymore. I just got tired of fixing all the bugs, and in general I just kind of also didn't really know what to do. I need to like think out more. What would the game be about? What would you be doing? What puzzles would you solve? What would you be fighting? Would it just be guys like this who are just like this guy right here doesn't actually like originally didn't even have him here. Would you stop? I didn't even have him here. It was just blocks automatically moving because it's really all that's happening. His existence is literally just visual. He's just there to look cool and have this beam appear between him and the blocks that are being moved. The blocks, if I just removed him outright, the game would just still do it. If I just had an empty object with the boss script attached, it would just work just as fine. He doesn't have any actual presence. In fact, I can probably walk up to him and nothing will happen. Yeah. Well, I did give him a collider so that he can actually feel when I hit him with the damaging blocks that I now can't hit him with because fucking I forgot entirely about doing that. I forgot about moving it into its own script. Which he's being really annoying about. One thing he also does is that he removes the block you're standing on in case he doesn't know what else to do. So that you can't do this, for instance. But now I can because my movement overrides his, which it didn't used to. So I have to stop moving it in order for him to stop moving it. So yeah. This game is kind of a broken mess. More so than it was previously, but you know, I had to fix the whole not moving enough thing, but even that isn't properly fixed, it would seem. Nothing is fixed, that's why I don't want to work on this game. I don't like physics-based games because they have problems like this, because I can't really even solve them that easily. Usually it's a problem with the Unity physics engine rather than with my scripts. And when it's not with my scripts, and when it is with my scripts, I don't really know how to solve it as easily, because, yeah, physics is not my forte. I'm better at just the actual coding part of it, so I try to make my games not very physics-based, but they always seem to, because I like the kind of games where you do stuff like this and you run around and whatever, and then it's preferred to have physics. And yeah, I think that was all. As usual, I didn't plan out a way to end it. The ending was going to be, I actually did plan an ending. The ending was going to be killing this guy, but for fuck's sake. Wait, is that thing happening now? Okay, no, it's not. Sometimes if you walk into a corner, you will just die because you touch two colliders at once, and yeah. Shitty game. It's I like the idea of it. I'm pretty proud of how far I got with it and like what I did and like the whole mechanic thing. But it's a buggy mess, and I don't really want to work on it anymore. It's not really fun, and I don't really know what direction to take it. So I'm just gonna guess sit on it for probably forever. Just think of what I want to do with it, if I want to do anything with it, and how to solve all these stupid bugs, really, and just make it multiplayer again, because this kind of mechanic could be fun with your friends, trying to solve puzzles with your friends or against your friends, and I just died again. So yeah, I'm just repeating myself over and over now, and I still haven't figured out a way of ending videos. So, since my actual intended ending was ruined, I'm just gonna go kill myself. Fuck you, guy, you don't get to kill me one last time. I'm going to do it myself. Whee!